We are here with Tana and Scott Causey, and it's great to be with you. We were at your wedding and got to see how God had brought you together, and thank you for meeting with us on the road in between.
Thank
you for having us.
Absolutely. Well, this is Meridian Little Theater. This is where the drama of life seems to unfold on stage and off the stage, and it brought you all together. And I'm real interested in your story and how God brought you together and what you've learned on your road in between as you've gone through some unique situations. And Tana, let's begin with you and maybe share a little bit about where you came from and where you are now.
In December of 2011, I was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer at the age of 25. And it was something that I've always known that I was going to have. I don't know why, it was just one of those feelings that I always knew. And I can remember telling Scott that many a times, and I've told my friends that before, and when I was diagnosed, it was not really a shock to me. So
I kept telling her she was crazy.
And I knew it, and I told him, I said, I know what it is, and he said, no. Yeah, I know. And so I was diagnosed on December 6th of 2011, and like I said, it wasn't that big of a shock to me. It wasn't that big of a surprise. I can remember being on the phone with the doctor and my mom walking in the door, and I was sitting there just talking to the doctor like I normally would, and I was like, yes, sir, yeah, that's fine, okay, thank you. And my mom saying, was it good? Good news? I said, Mama, I told you I had cancer.
Yeah, her mom and I took it a lot harder. God didn't prepare us for it. So.
No.
Yeah. I tried to, but
she did
no.
try, but we didn't believe her. So.
Did you go through a grief process, though?
There were a few times, not many, that I actually did cry. The one time I did break down was when I had gone to the doctor, and granted, I knew that I was going to have cancer. I knew that. I did not know what that encompassed, I guess. I did not realize that I would have to have chemo and I would have to have radiation. And at 25 years old, I wasn't going to have any hair. I was not going to have any eyelashes it was just one of those things that as a 25-year-old, a single 25-year-old, I didn't want to comprehend, I guess. And so that was the one time that I really I got upset because it was me being selfish and me just being a girl, but I didn't have that one thing that was making me pretty, I guess. Sure. And then there were maybe 2 or 3 other times, but the only person I wanted was him. The only person I wanted. And nobody, and you can ask anybody, nobody saw me cry. I didn't cry because, like I said, it was something I was prepared for, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But whenever I did have those days of just, I don't feel good, I called him.
Called Scott.
I did.
What is it about Scott that drew you to need that kind of person?
Comfort, just that person that just made you comfortable no matter what. It was that person that you could lay on the couch with and not have to talk and not have to do anything. And I can remember the one time, I think it was after my 3rd chemotherapy. Mm-hmm. Number 1 and number 3 was bad. And after number 3, I remember going to his mama's house and laying down on their carpet because it was so comfortable, laying down on their carpet and falling asleep while he watched a movie, like laying on the floor. And that's what I wanted to do in front of the fireplace, and that's what he did. Now,
y'all were friends then, or did you start dating and then, how did that work?
We had dated for a little bit.
I'm going to get in trouble on this one. We had dated for 2.5, 3 years. And
took a
break. And we never really fully got away from each other, but for about a year there, we were not dating. We still talked, and towards the end of that is when, that year is when she was diagnosed. And we started hanging out a lot more, seeing the I guess the toughness of her, the determination, really made me, brought back a lot of those same feelings that I'd always had. I mean, I never stopped loving her, obviously, but just seeing, I guess seeing someone at their worst, you just kind of get a greater appreciation for it. But we went through all of that, and again, this place right here was probably one of the biggest things about it. She had never had the courage. She had come with me a few times to do a play, and she never had the courage to get up and try out, ever.
I was chicken.
She was chicken.
I don't know why.
And they came up with a play that she had always said if they ever do this, she would definitely do it, and they did Cats. And she called me up and said, I'm going to do it. And I said, well, do it. I said, if you want me to come up there with you, I will. She's like, no, I get more nervous with you there than if I don't. So I, of course, just sat at home pretty much waiting for the phone call. I actually called up a few people and told them, said, look, give her a chance. I promise you she's great, but she's going to be nervous, but give her a chance. A few people that I knew here. And she...
that was the play that I came to. I was sitting there talking to a friend of mine and asked, I think I'm going to do that tonight. And she said, okay, I'm doing it too. I said, okay. So I come with my hat on, no wig, no nothing, and
No eyebrows.
no eyebrows,
no
nothing.
hair whatsoever.
So the first thing that happens is Jimmy Pigford gets up and says, if you have a hat on, I need you to take it off. And I look around, and it's just me. I said, okay. So I took it off. Bald as can be. It was just me. So, yeah. And, I mean, number one, I got up on stage and I tried out, but number two, I tried out with no hair whatsoever. And I can remember Jeremy Sandy in the back going, this is the first one you're trying out for? I said, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I am.
That vulnerability made you fall in love with her even more.
It did. I mean, seriously, the courage that she had through that and what she gained from cancer was really, I mean, it really was. It was amazing, the amount of courage and I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to do it. She had always been more reserved. She didn't want to put herself out there. And I really think that was something that, maybe God put it in her life to kick her into that mode.
That's why I said I thank God every day that I had cancer. I'm actually so thankful that I had cancer because it proved to me that I am strong and I can do whatever I want, and kind of the person that I felt on the inside never matched the person that I was on the outside until I had cancer. And now it's more of, I can do it, and I'm going to show you I can do it. Beautiful.
And you're a teacher.
Yes.
Tell us about teaching and how, were you teaching when you had cancer?
Yes. I was in my third year of teaching, and great year. I mean, I had a new assistant, brand new assistant, loved her to death. I think she was meant for me, like she's supposed to be my assistant, and this was her first year doing anything, and I had to come in and say, number one, I'm sick, but number two, you've got to teach. And I can remember her being so supportive of me, but I mean, only knowing me for 4 months at the time, her being so supportive of me, but to like taking over the classroom, because I didn't miss a whole lot. It was when I had chemo, when I had the first 4 rounds of the adriamycin, which is the red devil, which is the bad stuff, it would be every 2 weeks, and I would miss 2 days. So 8 days was basically it. From January until May, I missed 8 days of school. And those 8 days, she had to step up and be the teacher with no assistant for her, anything like that. And so again, God gave me her as well. I mean, to step in and take it over. I mean, and be me, you know. And so it was wonderful. But yeah, the kids that year didn't know anything. I didn't tell them. They didn't know. I didn't want them to know.
Did you have a wig?
Yes, I did. And I'd cut my hair. My hair was really long, and I cut it off short. So the transition from hair to wig, they didn't really notice. But so that whole group really didn't. They didn't know anything about it. Their parents might have, but it was something that I did not broadcast. I didn't want anybody, like everybody at school knew, of course, but I didn't really want my kids to know because they were, you know, kids are very honest. And at that time, I didn't really know if I wanted their honesty. But the next year, I was very open with those students because at that time my hair was coming back and I didn't want that wig on. I wasn't going to have it on. And I can remember the day that I actually warned them. I told them, I said, all right, I've got a surprise for you, you know, prefaced it a little bit and showed them, took off the wig. And I have a little girl and I have the picture and she brought me a barrette. It was a little blue barrette that she had in her hair and she put it in my hair and she says, you can wear this so you can feel pretty. And I was like, of course, you know, boo-hoo. But I mean, by that time it was just, I was done and I was over it and I wasn't wearing a wig and it didn't bother me at all. But all of my parents have been incredibly supportive, but all of my coworkers in my school, they were extremely supportive. And that is what helped.
I know you didn't want a pity party.
No.
But you did want support.
I did.
And there is a fine line probably for that. Because a lot of us don't know what to say to those who are going through cancer. So we tend to say nothing, and then we feel frustrated, but we also don't want to put our foot in our mouth.
Right. And, you know, and sometimes saying nothing is okay because you don't want to be reminded of it. You don't want to think about it. You don't want to talk about it sometimes. And sometimes it's fine, but, you know, other times after 15 people have asked you over here, you just want to come. Like when I went to school, I felt like I was at home because I didn't have to talk about it. I didn't have to say, oh, well, you know, this, I didn't have to. And it was normal. And I think that's why I missed only 8 days of school because school was my home. It was I felt comfortable there. You know, I was doing something. I was at work. I was doing what I was supposed to do, which was
your mind off of
which
it.
was teach those kids, and that's what I'm here to do. You know, and so that's what saved me was work. You know.
Well, that's kind of the road in between. It's that light and dark. It's that God and you called it Red Devil. That was part of your treatment. Is that what you named it, or is that what everybody calls it?
That's what everybody
calls that one.
And how God worked through cancer to bring you all together, to make you a causey. And so the C word is not cancer. C word is Christ and celebration and the causes. And so we thank you for sharing your story with us today on the road in between. You got a beautiful story.
Thank you.
Thank you.